It's potato planting day. Again, this time we're doing fall potatoes. Now, I have already planted a bunch of potatoes, and these are the ones I have left. So you may have already planted your potatoes, but if not, let's do it now, especially since in our area of Central Texas this year, 2025, the summer has taken another record breaking amount of time to cool off. So it's dry and it's still been 90 degrees or higher every single day as a high temperature until yesterday. So if you haven't gotten your fall garden started yet, you have a little bit of a chance still. And you know, how long our fall garden lasts is really going to depend on when we get our first really killing freeze. A lot of our plants can actually make it just fine through a light freeze. So in any case, depending, we might get a good crop of potatoes. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and harvest them whenever the tops die. That will be the end of their season. And these are new potatoes anyway. So some of them got really big in the spring. And what I have here are actually ones that we planted together that we then harvested together. And then they've been sitting on a shelf in my house, and we don't have cold storage here. There are very, very few basements in Texas, especially around here where it's mostly limestone rock. You're not gonna see a cellar where you can keep cold storage. At some point, I might get a refrigerator in my garage that I set to 50 to 60 degrees so that I can keep my vegetables that I want to store at the right temperature. Root vegetables mainly, like potatoes. I just left them on a wire shelf in my regular air-conditioned house. You can eat them as you want them, and then at a certain point, they will just tell you when they're ready to go be planted again because they start to grow these funky little things. Isn't that cool? You're going to want to plant these facing up where you see these sprouts. They start as just an eye, but if you let them go long enough, they get more and more alien-like. They're so cool. So what I did was some of these are small enough to just be planted whole. So this is just like a tiny potato, and they make the best seed potatoes because you don't have to dig as big of a hole for them. And some of them were pretty big, so I cut them yesterday and let them for about 24 hours cure over. So this feels actually quite soft and satiny smooth right now, and that's going to kind of close it off so it doesn't start immediately rotting when I put it in the ground. So you can cut them up where there's at least one of these funky eye guys growing, and this is going to be pointed up. I want these to be about 6 inches down, definitely covered at least a few inches above this part, and then I can put the mulch right back on top of them. I don't want to water them too much, water them in a little bit, but if you water them too much, I find that they may just rot in the ground and not come up at all. So this is going to be the race to see if we can get our potatoes here in the fall in Central Texas before the first killing freeze. And hey, if I get a bunch of little new potatoes, that's fine with me. These are a red variety called Red Kennebec. But now that I'm saving my own seed potatoes, they're free. Do you want free potatoes forever? All you have to do is keep planting them, harvesting them, and then letting them get ready to be planted again and start the cycle again. Here in Texas, it's 2 times a year. They only need 90 days to grow, so we can do this in the spring and the fall. All right, let's get to it. I have some cover crops. Some are warm season that can live until a hard freeze along with the potatoes. Some are cool season that are going to take us all the way through the winter, but get more of this covered with plants. I have little trees, and there's a pepper, big tomato, beauty berries. Behind me is a plum tree. We have a Texas redbud, some fig trees, pineapple guava. I've got my bean tower right here with my hammock. And another tomato growing up the elderberry. And right here in the middle is nothing. And it's pretty sunny, so let's go for it. Also mixed in here are some perennial wildflowers that I want to get started. How cool is that? Pretty. Okay, so after I get these buried and put the soil back on top, then I'll add the seeds so they're at the right depth. First, I want to move the mulch out of the way until I get to some soil. This area has been mulched for a long time, and bluebonnets are also a nitrogen fixer, in addition to a native plant in Texas, because they are in the legume family. So they'll come back in the spring if they set seeds, but in the meantime, this soil has a lot of nutrients. Potatoes, like the red potatoes and white potatoes, they want a lot more nutrients than something like a sweet potato needs. So I want to give it this fresh ground with all the good stuff. So right here, I'm gonna plant 4 potatoes. 1, 2, 3, 4 in a little square or diamond shape. So that's all I have to move out of my way for now. And then I want each hole to be about 6 inches deep. I'm just gonna put the potato down there and let the soil cover it back up. Lots of life in the soil. It's very dark brown. It's been covered in a good layer of mulch. Okay, so that one corner is done. Then let me get over here. Okay, cover that back up. Same thing on this corner. I'm trying to do the least amount of digging as needed. And there we go. And one more corner. Okay. Whew. Now that I've finished that, I'm gonna take some of my seeds and just sprinkle them around. cover them up a little bit like that. I'm going to water this a little bit, not too much because I don't want the potatoes to rot. And then I'm going to cover it with a thin layer of mulch until I start to see the tiny sprouts coming up. See you on the next one.